high school tragedy, and he became a gun control advocate. Susanna Hupp is a former Texas state legislator who saw her parents gunned down 20 years ago during a mass shooting at Luby's cafeteria. Since then, she has taken the opposite road. She's fighting to protect the right to own guns. Thanks to both of you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Carol.
I hope to have an interesting discussion about this from another perspective, so I'm intrigued by what will be said. Tom, let's start with you. It seems like the president might mention gun control tonight. After all, the parents of Christina Green, the little girl killed in Tucson, has been invited to sit with the First Lady. What do you want the president to say?
I hope first that he acknowledges what I think a lot of Americans are thinking right now, that the shooter in Tucson never should have been able to buy a gun in this country. And I hope that he informs us that part of the reason that he got it is because we don't have a good enough system for catching people like him and to preventing them from getting a gun in the first place. And then I hope he then also challenges America to question if we really can have these kinds of assault weapons, these military-type weapons, in the hands of civilians, and if that really makes us safer.
And Susanna, you fear more gun control laws. Tell us why you think the president should stay away from the gun control issue.
Well, particularly when you're talking about the mental health issue, my husband is a psychologist, and he can tell you that approximately 10% of the population will seek mental health care at some point in their lives. You know, unfortunately, it's not illegal to be weird. We cannot predict when those individuals will snap. So I don't want to see people's rights stripped from them before a crime has actually been committed. You just simply can't do that.
So is there any gun control measures that should be put into place, Suzanne?
Well, I think we already currently have quite a few measures that are pretty good measures. We do have background checks. Those background checks are enforceable even at gun shows, which you're always hearing about gun shows being a problem. But the fact is the dealer has to abide by the background checks there as well.
Well, let's talk about the gun show, because I know Tom is big on this issue. So, Tom, you say this loophole allowed the shooters at Columbine to get guns.
Absolutely, Carol. In most states, you can go into a gun show and buy a gun from
Jonathan.
The table of a private seller, not a dealer, but a private seller without a background check. You can be a criminal, you can be mentally deranged, you can be someone who's not allowed to have a gun, and you simply buy from a private seller. Now, in Colorado, we changed that law after Columbine. We took it to a vote of the people. 70% of the people in Colorado, a pro-gun state, voted for that, and we closed that gun show loophole in Colorado. Now, that's a loophole in federal law, and for that reason, we should close it at the federal level.
But
There's
Tom,
no reason to allow someone to buy a gun like that.
Tom, I can understand where Suzanne is coming from, too, because, you know, there are a lot of mentally unstable people out there underneath the radar who've never been to a mental health facility that can still buy a gun, even with a background check.
Sorry, no one is suggesting that just because someone goes to a mental health center that they should not be able to purchase a gun. But the bar is right now raised so high that only the very most serious mentally deranged people are denied a purchase. It's those who are adjudicated mentally ill. We certainly saw in the case of the Tucson shooter that he was very seriously ill, and yet he was able to purchase a gun. People knew that he was a problem, but the system did not have him tagged as someone who could not purchase a gun.
Suzanne, go ahead.
That's wrong.
Wow. Well, you know, unfortunately, though, and Lord knows I'd love to be able to predict who's going to snap and be able to take those people off the street. But the fact of the matter is we can't. And what you're talking about is stripping people's rights away before they have done anything illegal. You know, at the point that they have done something illegal, and by all means, let's go after them. And if they have shown to be a danger to themselves or others, those laws are already currently in place.
So, Suzanne, is the answer just to allow everyone to own a gun? Everyone to be armed?
No, of course not. We already have, I'm sorry? Everybody to be armed? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that the purpose of that amendment was allowing people who do not have a felony offense on their head or who have not been adjudicated mentally incompetent should be able to carry weapons to protect themselves and their loved ones. You know, you mentioned the assault weapons, and I'd like to interject something here. I hear that term frequently, and I know what perhaps you and at least many of your listeners, when they hear that word assault weapon, they're picturing a Tommy gun. They're picturing a machine gun that when you pull the trigger, it goes, for lack of a better way of putting it. And that's simply not what a semi-automatic gun is. I carry a semi-automatic gun. Most people who have concealed carry or open carry permits carry semi-automatic guns. All it means is that each time you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out. That's all it means.
Tom, you want to respond?
I find it interesting that on Fox News the day of the shooting, one of the anchors said, I cannot believe that this would have been anything other than an automatic weapon to have shot this many people in this short a period of time. Well, he was wrong. With a 31 bullet clip, he was able to shoot a lot of people. He did it in less than 15 seconds. There was somebody who was armed there that day. How could he react that quickly?
No, he was actually in the building next door.
He did. But he came out.
He was actually in the Walgreens
thought
next
he would
door.
shoot.
Yeah, and he did stop it.
Can I finish?
Go ahead, Tom.
He did it by tackling. He joined those who tackled him. But the point is that he admitted that at one point he was ready to fire. He would have shot the man who was holding the gun, who had taken it from the shooter. And that's the very point, that many people who are armed are not trained the way our police are to know how to react to situations in that spur of the moment. And they can shoot the wrong person. They can worsen the situation. Mm-hmm. It's not the answer. It's not the answer. There are many things we can do to keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them. That's where our focus should be, not in the pipe dream that we can stop all of these shootings from happening by having the right fortune of the right person being at the right place at the right time.
So if we can find any common ground at all between you two, it would be to tighten the laws that we already have on the books. It's a start, right?
When you say tighten the laws, I have to ask specifically what you're referring to. I can tell you this. I thoroughly believe in the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and when I was in the legislature, I filed bills several times that would allow for university carry on campuses, because I could predict that Virginia Tech was going to happen. Unfortunately, after Columbine, what a dreadful scenario, and the police officers didn't even go in the building for, 45 minutes? How wonderful it would have been if, like here in Texas, we actually have a couple of independent school districts that allow their teachers, if they're trained, to carry weapons. Mm-hmm. Somebody that's looking for a high body bag count isn't going to go into those places. They're going to go someplace where guns aren't allowed.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. We're going to have to leave it there. We could continue this discussion all day. We'll have to listen to hear what the president may or may not have to say about gun control. But thank you both for bringing your perspective to this.
Thanks for having us.
To this controversial issue. Thank you.